In a quiet Evanston hospital room on a cold December night in 1964, baby Edward emerged into a world already turned upside down. His father, a Chicago basketball player, was gone before Eddie could remember, and his parents' marriage had collapsed. Young Eddie grew up under the care of his mother and a kind stepfather named Peter, believing Peter was his real dad. That carefully built foundation of identity would crack apart years later, leaving him adrift. At 12, Eddie received a guitar from his mother, a slender lifeline handed to a lonely boy. The family had moved to sunny Southern California, but love and stability were in short supply. The Vedder home had even fostered 7 younger children, and by the time his mother and brothers returned to Chicago, the house felt empty. When I was around 15 or 16, I was all alone, except for music, Eddie would recall. The strings of that guitar became his closest companions on long nights, a way to fill the silence around him. In his late teens, another secret tore him apart. Eddie's mother revealed that Peter Mueller was not his biological father, and that the man he'd briefly met as a family friend was actually his real dad, Ed Severson. But Ed had died of multiple sclerosis years earlier. The truth shattered Eddie. The boy who thought he understood his past suddenly felt unmoored. He dropped out of high school and moved to Chicago to stay with his mother, even changing his name to Vedder. Out of the anger and confusion came a furious song, Alive, that would become a moment of catharsis on Pearl Jam's first album. In the early 1980s, with nothing left to hold him back, Eddie returned to California with Beth, his high school sweetheart. They lived in friends' basements and on couches, surviving on day jobs while chasing music at night. Eddie slipped into local bands and drummed in Beth's group, but always circled back to his guitar. By 1990, he was playing in a San Diego band called Bad Radio when a tape found its way into his hands. It was demos from Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament in Seattle, searching for a singer. Eddie wrote lyrics for 3 of their songs as he surfed off Encinitas, a mini opera about a son who discovers he's been lied to about his father, and mailed the demo north. Those songs became the embryo of Pearl Jam tracks: Alive, Once, and Footsteps. Within days, Eddie was on a plane to Seattle. Stone and Jeff had formed a new band and needed a vocalist. In the rainy city, Eddie stepped into the studio and sang. He clicked instantly. The others were stunned by the raw power and honesty in his voice. Before long, Eddie was the new frontman of Pearl Jam, and he also found himself invited to sing for Temple of the Dog, a one-off tribute to their fallen friend, Andrew Wood. In the recording booth, Eddie belted out Hunger Strike opposite Chris Cornell, infusing that grief-soaked project with an aching hunger for life. It was a baptism by loss, marking him indelibly in the Seattle scene. By 1991, Pearl Jam's debut album, 10, was unleashed on the world, and Eddie's life changed overnight. He stood in stadiums lit like altars, his tall frame silhouetted as he sang, "Holy water, won't you come down," voice echoing with the pain of survival. The songs struck a chord. Alive churned with defiance, Black spilled heartbreak, and Jeremy fumed with the rage of a bullied boy. Fans tore through his lyrics like gospel, writing letters about their own darkest moments. Eddie, the shy kid turned rock star, felt both elated and terrified. He was suddenly the mouthpiece for a generation of misfits, a role he never asked for. To him, the attention was overwhelming. The idea of being everyone's hero was both beautiful and frightening. The fame brought both triumph and torment. On the road, Eddie and his bandmates crisscrossed America in vans, but he often felt more alone than ever. They should have been on top of the world, but he lived in constant fear it would all collapse. Strangers wrote letters thanking him for their own survival, as if he had saved them, and he worried he couldn't live up to that. Every magazine cover and screaming crowd felt like it was burrowing into the real Eddie, demanding more than he knew he had to give. He was still the lonely teen inside, and hiding that boy became the hardest part. Even within Pearl Jam, tensions simmered as they grew huge. The band famously waged war on Ticketmaster, refusing to play any venue that gouged fans. To Eddie, it seemed right. He hated the idea of fans being ripped off, but it meant playing far fewer shows in the US. Drummers came and went too. Dave Abruzzese left in 1994 over political differences, and Jack Irons later bowed out. Each lineup shakeup reminded Eddie that success had its costs, personal and political. Still, in the studio, Pearl Jam pushed back. They turned down videos, skipped singles, and on Vitalogy and No Code recorded songs that poured out guilt and doubt. Every chord was a stand against the machine, a refusal to be moved by anything but the music itself, even as the world around them fought to reshape them. Then the darkness of the world intruded again. In April 1994, Pearl Jam was on tour near Washington, D.C., when a wave of calls came in. Kurt Cobain, the anguished voice of their era, and an old friend, had died by suicide. It felt like a punch to the gut. In his hotel room that night, Eddie completely lost control. He hurled himself against drawers, smashing them open, ripped clothes from hangers, and tore them apart with his bare hands. Over and over he muttered into the shattered silence, "Don't go, man. Don't go." He had never been more scared. In Kurt's face, Eddie saw himself, another lost boy who wrote songs to survive, now crushed by the weight of expectations. For days, Eddie felt as though a piece of him had died too. Every morning was a struggle. It felt like waking from a nightmare he couldn't escape. But even in that darkness, he realized he needed to find a way to keep going, for himself, and for those who still needed his voice. Over the years, Eddie lost more friends, each loss adding to the ache he carried. In 2002, the music world mourned Alice in Chains singer Lane Staley. Eddie was heartbroken. On stage in 2016, he paused to celebrate what would have been Lane's 49th birthday, voice thick with tears. Then, in 2017, his brother, Chris Cornell, took his own life. Eddie openly wept for Chris, telling fans Chris had been like a big brother. Each death reopened old wounds. His father's absence, Kurt's suicide, Andy Wood's overdose. But Eddie didn't let it go silent. Instead, he turned those losses into lessons for others. After Kurt's death, he had told fans, "You have to keep going." Now he urged everyone listening, don't hold in the pain. Reach out for help, because nobody is truly alone. Between songs, you might catch Eddie's gaze drifting upward, as if he's talking to someone who isn't there. Perhaps he's speaking to the boy who once cried at midnight in a dark house, or to the friend lost too soon, promising he won't be forgotten. In these fleeting moments, he carries the weight of all the ghosts inside him, but he carries them as comrades, not shackles. Every lyric he sings is born from heartbreak and hope alike. He has never stopped being human. Even now, millions expect the rock icon, but Eddie holds tight to the kid who just wanted to be honest. When the final note rings out and the lights go dim, what remains is a portrait of a man who has lived through far more than fame. Eddie Vedder's story is not just that of a rock star who found success, but of a human who fought his demons at every turn. He has been a son longing for a father, a friend grieving his brother, a father himself striving not to be the man he lost. Through it all, he held fast to one promise: to stay honest, no matter the price. In every anguished howl and tender whisper, Eddie reminds us that even in the darkest night, the music inside can guide us home. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications on to never miss a video.